Thank you very much, Jim. Appreciate that. Thank you for all being here. First thing I wanted to say is that, yes, Jim is correct, that I started off being as a geologist, and when I got married and realized I wanted to stay being married, it was time to come out of the field and become a mining analyst. So I was a mining analyst for 34 years. And in that time, I ended up at the end running the Canaccord Genuity Global Equity Mining Research Team. So what did I look for as an analyst? What I looked for was a company that had the 4 Ps, as I call them. So place, people, project, and price. In our case, with GR Silver, which is ticker GRSL in the TSX Venture Exchange, the place is one of the top jurisdictions for mining silver. Mexico has, for centuries, been one of the top destinations for silver mining. And where we're located, we have excellent infrastructure and a fantastic relationship with the local people. People. We've got a fantastic team, over 140 people from Mexico working with us. In the management, diverse experience. Marcio Fonseca was the founder, the CEO and president. I became CEO in March in order to help out on the capital market side. As an analyst, I'm able to tell a story. And Marcio is focusing on being on the ground, working with the team, and making sure the magic happens. My job is to make sure he has the resources to make the magic happen. In terms of project, we have 730 square kilometers in Sinaloa, and within that, the core project, 430 kilometers, the Plomosas project, which is the Rosario district, a well-known district in Mexico that's been around for literally hundreds of years and has some former producers on it. Price. In my opinion, at this point in time, GR Silver is trading at a significant discount relative to the peer mean, no matter how you slice it. And I'll go into why that is and what we're going to do about it. So as I mentioned, we are looking at creating some opportunities focused on Mexico, and the primary target is the Plomosas project. I mentioned the core project that's in red. That's the Plomosas project, over 400 square kilometers. We, at this point in time, have approximately 51 million ounces of silver in both categories, approximately 79 million ounces on a silver equivalent basis. And then we have some other properties off to the west and northwest, which are optionality, where we're looking at partnering up and moving forward with those on other people's money. This is a view to the northeast of the Plomosas project area, and you can see the bright red markings across that. These are deep structural features. And when you're on the western side of the Sierra Madre, where we are, these key structural features are extremely important. We have over 75 kilometers of that kind of a thing. And each of these structures have related to them multiple veins, epithermal veins of high-grade silver and gold mineralization. This is a view inside the San Marcial drill station. That's something that we put together. And the Plomosas project has 2 important features that I'd like you to focus on: the San Marcial resource expansion and the Plomosas mine area infill drilling. So there are different approaches to increasing the value of the company, and we'll get into that. The target at the end of the day is in the first quarter of 2023, we will be providing updated resources, and that's the thing to focus on. So in the San Marcial area, a lot of work has gone into taking that historical database, in assembling this property package, over 500 drill holes in the San Marcial area, in Plomosas area, and over 1,000 drill holes in the La Trinidad area. So an awful lot of historical information that has been put together by the geological team to create an exploration model. And that exploration model is focused on high-grade silver and gold. Now what we're seeing is proof of concept, and I'll get into that. This is also silver-dominant mineralization that we're working on.
So in the San Marcial area, the original interpretation was that we had superficial enrichment, in other words, higher grades at surface, and the geological model said, no, there should be a route to this. And so we began to drill. At the end of 21, we completed an 8-hole program from a drilling station at the end of an old adit, and that generated several very strong intersections. So 18.5 meters of 779 grams silver, not silver equivalent, silver, and 38 meters of 779 grams. So very, very strong results. And so the result is that we are now in the process of a 4,500 meter program that by the end of this year, we'll be looking at further depth extension here. You can see some of the planned holes off on the shoulder there being drilled from surface, other holes being drilled from depth. So that is the key here. We're extending this deposit to depth, and we're demonstrating that the silver component gets stronger with depth. We're also looking along strike. So if you can see here, the small rectangle, that's the San Marcial resource area. We have now realized that mineralization is associated with structures in parallel or in contact with the contact between the upper volcanics and the lower volcanics here, so the blue area and the yellow area. What's also important are those purple blobs that indicate where intrusives have come up, and they provide the heat engine and the source of fluids that give you the mineralization that we're looking for. So those faint lines and the dots on them, that indicates where we're seeing silver that's risen up to the surface that we can measure at surface. So it's pretty clear that this is a pretty attractive target. And so San Marcial is an expansion story, as I mentioned, to depth. And now, as I've pointed out, along strike in a similar geological setting. This is what it looks like around the Plomosas mine area. So this is an historical mine that was mined by Grupo Mexico from 1986 to 2000, focused entirely on base metals. And they provided the mine access that you can see in the bottom center, and 7.4 kilometers of underground development. So when you think about it, this is a fully developed mine area that's permitted, that has road access and has power directly to it. In addition, you have mine permitting, and you have an agreement with the ejido that's nearby. And so all of that leads to a shorter timeline and less risk. This is now a slice through the mine. You can see the black squiggles. That's the top part of the mine development that's there, and the gray that continues on the bottom. One key point about the company is you'll find that we are deeply discounted relative to the mean valuations that are out there in the market right now. Part of the reason is that last year was a year of taking all of that historical data, understanding what the controls on mineralization are, and some of that ended up in us putting out a resource. We wanted to take those 500 drill holes that are here at the Plomosas mine and get that into a 43-101. And perhaps a lot of the news releases leading up to that release of a resource related to different showings around the property, of which there are many historical operations in that. And those were, of course, news releases tend to focus on the high grade, right? So you had high grade here and high grade there. And then the resource that relates to the mine area came out with a resource grade that was considerably lower than people expected. And that's understandable given what the process was here, but not necessarily obvious to the market. So the result is that we end up with a resource in the Plomosas mine area of 40 grams per ton silver, which is not economic. So right away, that puts the company into the doghouse from a valuation perspective, and rightly so. But there are several good reasons why that is the case. One is not all the holes were validated, not enough documentation or existing core, so that can't go into the resource database. Number two is selective sampling. When you look at it, this was a base metal mine back in the 80s and 90s. And so the geologists sampled the sulfides that they saw. They sampled the obvious metal minerals for lead and zinc. And they didn't sample in between, which we know from 5,000 samples underneath in the channel samples in the developed mine, actually is where the silver and gold live. And so what we're doing is a very surgical, targeted infill drill program. And what we're seeing, and if you look at our last two news releases, you'll see, for example, a field of green there on the left-hand side. You can see that's all low grade, 30 to 100 grams. It's in the green area. But there are drill holes in there where you're seeing grades like, and intersections like 24 meters at 1.8 kilograms of silver. Okay, so a big jump within that, 0.6 meters of 7.2 kilos of silver. So there's clearly higher grade mineralization within there that did not go into the resource estimate of August of last year. So when we compare that 40-gram grade to what the historical average grade is here, 40 grams versus 190 grams, there's a big difference there, and this is what explains it. So our drill program is designed to address that disparity. We're going to see a San Marcial update for a resource on expansion, and also in the first quarter, you'll see a resource update for the Plumosis mine area, which will be focused on grade update. So that is what to look forward to in terms of news flow. In addition, there's a pipeline of more mineralization. This is a view to the east. On the right-hand side, you can see where the Plumosis mine is. This is one of those big, bright red structural zones that runs to the north. And along that, all kinds of other mineralization in the pipeline. That's exploration to come. So there's an awful lot on this project that needs to be tested. That's the capital structure, 195 million shares outstanding, 220 on a fully diluted basis. A lot of those warrants and options are not in the money, so the real fully diluted would be around 200 million. A good 24% participation on the part of institutions and funds. Management has skin in the game, as they say, for 13%, and some good participation from other investors. I mentioned valuation. And just in a matter of time, I'm going to focus on the right-hand chart there. GR Silver is trading at 53 cents enterprise value per ounce in the ground. The average for the peers is around $1.40. So that's a significant re-rating opportunity there as we demonstrate there are more ounces than people think, and it's at a higher grade than people think. So that's something to watch as we work towards putting out news releases over the next few months, and then the resource update in the first quarter. Great team. Brenda's here, VP Communications. Marcio on the far right, the founder and now president. Great explorationist in Trevor, and a great CFO in Blaine. So we have a great team working on this, lots of experience. And a great board as well. Laura Diaz is the former General Director of Mines for Mexico. She knows intimately how the system works in Mexico, works on our behalf. Jonathan Rubenstein is the former chairman of MAG Silver, which has been one of the greatest silver success stories in the last 15 years. So a wonderful board. So again, project, people, place, and price. Great value. I'll leave it there with a pretty rock. Any questions? Thank you. I think we have time for one or so. Yes, please.
The chart of ownership, does that include the property?
This one here, that is 100% of the company, and the property is owned 100% by GR Silver, yes. Any other questions? If not, I'll say thank you very much. Vielen Dank.